diving into ghost ransomware.
Whoa, spooky.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been making headlines.
Right.
So we've got some really interesting sources to look at, including a recent Slashdot article, which actually summarizes some warnings from the FBI and U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA.
Okay.
So, and then we're also going to be looking at some comments from the Slashdot community.
Cool, so we're going deep.
Yeah, hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a better understanding of this threat
Absolutely.
and how to maybe even combat it too.
Sounds good.
So to kick things off, I was kind of surprised to learn that ghost ransomware has actually been around since 2021.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about it, is that it's managed to fly under the radar for so long.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it seems like the group behind it, probably operating out of China, they've been really good at using all these different names.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Crypt, Crypt Third, Phantom, even, get this, Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's ironic.
It is, and it makes it super hard to track them.
Yeah, it's like trying to catch an actual ghost.
Exactly.
So let's talk about how this ransomware actually works.
Sure.
How do they break into systems in the first place?
Okay, so the advisory from the FBI and CISA, it basically says they're exploiting known vulnerabilities, especially in systems that haven't been patched.
Oh.
But here's the thing, they don't just use one method, they switch it up all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're constantly changing payloads, file extensions, even the ransom notes and email addresses they use.
So it's like they're always one step ahead.
Exactly. They're shape-shifting.
Okay, hold on. You said payloads.
Yes.
I think some people might not know what that means.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us?
Of course. So in simple terms, a payload is the part of the malware that actually does the bad stuff, like encrypting your data.
Oh, okay.
And by changing it up all the time, it makes it harder for security software to block it.
So it's like a disguise. So it's not just patching vulnerabilities. It's about staying ahead of these constantly evolving tactics.
That's the tricky part.
Okay, so why go to all this trouble? What's the ultimate goal?
Well, it all boils down to money.
Yeah, it's ransomware.
Right. They want to hold your data hostage and make you pay to get it back.
Okay, and this is actually working.
Sadly, yeah, there were reports of ransom payments as recently as January 2025.
Wow, that's scary. So we're not just talking about big corporations here, right?
No, not at all.
It seems like they're targeting different sectors of the economy, like critical infrastructure even.
That's right, and this is where the Slashdot community comes in.
Oh, yeah.
They had some really interesting thoughts on all of this.
Oh, like what?
Well, one user suggested physically disconnecting unused backups as a security measure.
Oh, that's interesting, like taking them offline completely.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder how practical that would be.
Right, for everyday users, that might be a bit much.
Probably.
Okay, what else did the Slashdot community have to say?
Another comment that caught my eye was about computer users becoming less tech-savvy.
Okay, and how does that tie into ghost ransomware?
Well, if people don't understand the basics of how technology works, they're more likely to fall for these kinds of attacks.
Right, they might not recognize the warning signs.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And then there was this comment about CISA, the cybersecurity agency.
Okay, what about them?
This user actually predicted their demise.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and they were questioning whether these kinds of warnings even do any good.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, but it does make you think about the role of these agencies in fighting ransomware.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Okay, so it sounds like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Absolutely. There's a lot more to unpack.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we go from here? I mean, it's one thing to understand the threat, but what can people actually do to protect themselves from this ghost ransomware?
Right, knowledge is power and all that, but we need to put that knowledge into action.
Exactly. So the FBI and CISA, in their advisory, they actually lay out some pretty clear recommendations.
Okay, like what?
Well, the most important thing, and this should come as no surprise, is patching known vulnerabilities in your systems.
Okay, so basic security hygiene, right?
Pretty much, it's like locking your doors and windows.
Makes sense.
But, we talked about how ghost ransomware keeps changing its tactics.
Yeah, that's what makes it so tricky.
Right, so even if you patch today, there might be new vulnerabilities tomorrow.
It feels like a never-ending race.
It can feel that way, which is why regularly updating your software and operating systems is so important.
Oh, okay.
Because those updates often include security patches, so it's like getting a booster shot against the latest threats.
So stay updated, stay safe, just like with vaccines.
Exactly.
But let's be real, not everyone is a tech whiz.
Right.
Are there any simple things, like everyday things, that people can do?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things is to be super careful about email attachments and links.
Oh, phishing emails, right?
Yep. That's a common way for ghost ransomware to spread, so if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Like that old saying, right?
Yep. Trust your gut.
Okay, but what happens if, even with all these precautions, someone still gets hit with ghost ransomware? What's the recovery plan?
Well, that's where backups come in.
Oh, okay.
Having regular backups, especially offline backups, can be a lifesaver.
It's like an insurance policy.
Exactly. If your system gets compromised, you can just restore your data from the backup and you don't have to pay the ransom.
So even if the ghosts get in, you've got a way out.
That's the idea.
Now, remember that Slashdot comment about physically disconnecting unused backup?
Yeah, the offline thing.
What do you think about that? Is it really worth the hassle?
It's an interesting idea, for sure. It could add an extra layer of protection.
Right, make it harder for the attackers to reach them.
Exactly, but it might not be practical for everyone, especially if you're not super organized.
Right, you don't want to lose your backups because you misplaced them.
Exactly, it defeats the purpose.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about technical solutions, but what about the human element? How can people become more tech-savvy, less vulnerable to these attacks?
I think it comes down to education and awareness.
Okay.
People need to understand the basics of cybersecurity, how to spot phishing attempts, things like that.
So it's like digital self-defense training.
Exactly. It's about giving people the tools they need to protect themselves online.
Okay, and what about the role of agencies like CISA? We talked about that Slashdot comment that predicted their demise.
Right. Well, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
But they do need to adapt to this ever-changing threat landscape.
How so?
Well, they need to improve collaboration, information sharing, invest in research and development, things like that.
So basically, stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. They're like the watchdogs of the cybersecurity world.
Okay, so we need individuals taking responsibility, agencies adapting. It sounds like a team effort.
It is. We're all in this together.
So far, we've really focused on ghost ransomware specifically.
Right. The nuts and bolts.
But I think it's important to zoom out a bit and consider the bigger picture.
I agree, because this isn't just about individual computers or networks anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, ghost ransomware, it really highlights how interconnected everything is these days. One successful attack can have ripple effects across entire industries, even international borders.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a reminder that cybersecurity is a societal issue, not just a tech issue.
So where do we go from here? What does all of this mean for the future of cybersecurity? So we're back, and we've been talking about all the nuts and bolts of ghost ransomware.
Yeah, and how it really shows just how connected everything is.
Right, like you were saying before the break, one attack can have huge ripple effects.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. It can disrupt supply chains, critical infrastructure, even impact international relations.
Wow, that's a lot to take in.
It is, and it really underscores that cybersecurity isn't just a tech issue anymore.
It's a societal issue.
Absolutely.
But we also talked about how computer users might be becoming less tech-savvy.
Right, that's a real concern.
So if we're all connected and maybe not as aware of the risks, what does that mean for the future? Are we headed for a digital apocalypse?
I don't think so, but it does mean we need to change our approach.
Okay, like how?
Well, we need to move beyond just teaching people how to use technology.
Right.
It's about teaching them how to use it safely.
So like digital citizenship.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to be more aware, more responsible online.
And what about the role of those cybersecurity agencies like CISA?
Oh, they're absolutely crucial.
Okay, but do they need to change?
They need to adapt, for sure.
How so?
Well, they need to keep improving collaboration, sharing information, and investing in new research.
So basically, staying ahead of the bad guys.
That's the idea. It's a constant race.
It sounds like we need a multi-pronged approach here.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to play their part.
Individuals, agencies, even just changing how we think about technology.
It's a collective effort, for sure.
So we've explored ghost ransomware, how it works, what it means for all of us.
We went deep.
We did. And hopefully, you're leaving this conversation feeling more informed, maybe even a little empowered.
That's the goal.
Now, as promised, we're going to leave you with a final thought.
Okay, hit me.
Imagine you're creating a public service announcement about ghost ransomware.
That's a good one.
How would you get people's attention? What message would really drive home the seriousness of this threat and make them want to take action?
Ooh, that's a challenge.
It is, but it's an important one.
For sure.
So we want to hear your ideas, share them on social media, talk to your friends. Let's keep this conversation going.
Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
That's right. So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.